Eyes to the screen as we showcase a short video on Kenya's investment dynamic. I thank you.
Kenya, the largest economy in East and Central Africa and the sixth largest on the African continent, offers investors a stable market growing at a rate of 5% annually. This isn't just a place to pause, it's a place to scale. Located at the heart of Africa, Kenya is an established and mature democracy with over $50 trillion in global market access and trade corridors connecting economies and people. Kenya offers scale, stability, and speed for global capital. From agriculture to apparel and leather manufacturing and much more, Kenya produces for the world. From our fertile lands to global shelves, Kenya feeds the world with quality and consistency, exporting tea, coffee, flowers, avocados, nuts, and herbs to every continent. From electric mobility, pharmaceuticals, to green innovation and technology, we are building the industries of tomorrow. Here, power is renewable, with over 93% green energy driving industry, cities, and sustainable growth. From smart buildings to eco-lodges to electric vehicles, Kenya is redefining sustainable living at scale. From all corners of our country to the region's capital, our road, rail, and air networks connect businesses to opportunities. This is Africa's Silicon Savannah, where technology powers inclusion and innovation drives growth. Fintech moves billions daily, with mobile money connecting people and driving businesses. Home to 85% of East Africa's tech startups, Kenya is the continent's digital gateway, ranked #1 in Africa on startup funding. At the Nairobi Securities Exchange, capital flows with confidence, fueling enterprise and new frontiers of opportunity. One of the best performing stock exchanges in Africa. Supported by a banking and financial ecosystem, Kenya is a regional financial hub on the continent. Across special economic zones and industrial parks with progressive fiscal benefits, opportunities scale fast. Invest in Kenya for clear incentives, investor protection, and a robust legal framework. Our greatest strength is our people, young, skilled, visionary. They are not waiting for the future. They are building it every day in every corner of our land. Home to more than 300 multinationals and growing, and the only United Nations headquarters in the global south, including UNEP, Kenya stands as the environmental capital of the world. We are predictable, competitive, and open for business. Kenya offers high quality of life, vibrant cities, world-class hospitality, and extraordinary natural landscapes. A place where global talent can live, work, and belong. Kenya is where Africa's industrial growth takes shape. If you are looking for scale, speed, certainty, and the gateway to Africa's fastest growing markets, invest in Kenya, because the future is already here.
The future is already here. Doesn't that make you so proud to be Kenyan? For those of you who are Kenyan, and those who are not, God bless you. Your Excellency, we'll now progress to panel discussion. And at this point, allow me to invite Mr. Yinka Adegoke, who's Africa editor for Semaphore, who is going to be the moderator. We can have the seats come on stage, please. Who's going to be the moderator for this particular panel discussion. And the discussion is on global capital, regional perspectives, investing in Kenya. Kenya's next growth frontier. Welcome, sir. Let's give him a clap as he comes and he'll introduce his panel this morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Your Excellencies. Thank you very much for having me. It's a true honor to partner with this event. My name is Yinka Adegoke. I am the Africa editor for Semaphore. Semaphore is a very young startup, a media company, which we started in Washington and New York, and is the only US-based publication which started with an Africa edition from the very start. And that's because we believe, obviously, we believe in Africa, we believe in Africans, we believe in the promise of this continent, and we really believe in Kenya because we started our operations here with journalists here and colleagues here. This discussion we're about to have is really, truly at the heart of much of what we have been pursuing with Semaphore. We've told the stories of investment and the stories of, everything from technology and political expansion across the continent. And we really see global capital as key to the way the various countries of Africa develop and move forward. And what we're going to get into today is we're going to have exporters and investors, manufacturers and service players on the continent, or in Kenya, who will get into the details of what we're trying to do here. I'm going to quote back the President's own words from the pamphlet that we have, that Africa is no longer on the margins of global trade. It's at the very heart of it. And Kenya is at the heart of that discussion, of what we're trying to achieve here. At this point, I think I'll get my panelists to join us. And I'll start off with James Donovan from ADEC. Please join me in welcoming him. Ms. Jane Karuku, Chief Executive of East African Breweries. Olivia Stretfield from Flamingo Group International. Shimal Fan from the World Bank. Much for being here. This is, like I said, an excellent panel in different sectors of the economy, in different sectors of Kenya's economy, but also the sub-region. So, Ms. Karuku, I'll start with you, and you've just been involved in a very exciting transaction where ownership changed. Okay, there we're back. What I would like to get into is, what does your transaction, where ownership changed from Diageo to Asahi in Japan, what does that say about why people should invest in Kenya, right? What does it say about the opportunities, the mergers and acquisition opportunities in Kenya?
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here. Very happy to sell Kenya. I think our recent transaction, I only have two words: confidence in the country. I think EABL, history from Kenya since 1922, a truly Kenyan company. And our grandfathers, Diageo sold to another grandfather called Asahi from Japan at the 65% at the value of $2.3 billion. The currency is great for Kenya. This put the total enterprise value at $4.8 billion. So we are starting to get some currency, not shillings, but in dollars, which really means that we are truly into the world stage. And I think it gives us confidence as Kenyans, as Africans, because its employees are fully Kenyan, fully East African. Our consumers are from the region. Our suppliers are from the region. We always had the vision. We are now at 78% local content from flour, from farmers to any other supplier who comes into our ecosystem. We are then proudly, totally integrated. From farmers to... And No, we are innovative. We are Kenyans. It's okay, we'll continue. So I think for an enterprise value of $4.8 billion that is totally integrated from grain to glass, as we call it, from farmer to consumption, is very, very good. And I think it's an example of what we can do as Africans, what we can do as Kenyans. And if you think about the last 12 months, there are so many transactions that have been announced, and I'm sure there are very, very many more to come
being worked on,
of similar value, hopefully.
Thank you very much for that. Olivia, I'll come to you, and just, I'm kind of fascinated by your business. You're one of the largest employers in the country. Just talk a little bit about what Flamengo does as an exporter of flowers, and really why it shows, what it tells us about Kenya at this point in time.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. So Flamingo is one of the world's largest exporters of fair trade flowers and vegetables. We were founded in Kenya 42 years ago on the fervent belief that Kenyans could do anything as well as anyone on the world stage. I like to think of us as one of the original offshorers. So we took vegetables and fruit that were being grown in the UK and Europe and basically started offshoring it into Kenya. Over the decades, we have been basically living the bottom-up economy that you guys are driving. So steadily, every quarter, every month, adding more and more value to what started as basic crops. And so now, 42 years later, we employ 13,000 Kenyans. And we have moved effectively into manufacturing. So we are creating the bouquets. And so that is completely disintermediating and taking business away from other countries. So crops that used to go into bouquets and get assembled in UK and Europe are now being grown here on your farms in Naivasha and Mount Kenya. In your video, you said Kenya's greatest strength, you have many strengths, but Kenya's greatest strength are Kenyans, and we really believe that. So with every bit of value add that we're bringing onto the farms, and it brings complexity, it brings mind-boggling complexity. And so one of my favorite parts of getting to host visits, we've hosted CS Lee, we've hosted CS Kagwe, PS Abubakar, and my favorite parts is when you guys get to see your Kenyans and how smart our Kenyans are and how they're steadily introducing and dealing with the complexity that means that we compete on the world stage.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that is the ambition for all governments, all business leaders, is how we move up the value chain. It's the biggest challenge for all African countries, especially. James, I wanted to come to you before I get on to the World Bank, but I wanted to come to you first to just talk a little bit about your very particular sector, the BPO sector, which again is a huge bet on Kenyans, just to tie into what Olivia was talking about there. how is that sector developing? What are the advantages that Kenya has that has really sort of boosted your business? Because you started in the Philippines and you've moved here and expanded across the continent, but Kenya has been is a big bet for you.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for being here, President Dr. Rodo, President Chapo. It's a privilege to be here, to be part of this, a small part of this story of Kenya. We started as a business process outsourcing firm 30 years ago, and about 13 years ago, we looked at the continent and said, where could we sort of begin our footprint? And what we looked for is trust, partnership, all of the things that people look for at citing sort of a location. The established powerhouses in our business of back office historically were South Africa and Egypt. So those would have been natural locations for us to go to. But what we did is try to look for the what's next. So 13 years ago, we looked for that trusted partnership. And one of the things we do a fair amount of work with the UN, UNEP, UN Habitat. And to be very frank, there's been 60 years of a strong partnership with Kenya and the UN as a demonstrated platform. So we took that and said, this is a place that we'd like to start and be able to start educating our clients that this is the opportunity. And then what we found was what everybody says, yes, Kenyan opportunity, talent, capability. All of those things we found in abundance. But what we find today in 2026, as everybody knows, I'm sure looking at your small screens, we're living in a changing world. Whether that's because we're shifting to multipolar or AI is intervening. Now, where am I going with this is Kenya actually happens to be at a fantastic juncture to be able to position the right talent with AI that can bring Kenyan professionals up the food chain. Historically, back office services, BPO as the industry is called, starts off with data servicing or call center. My point being is, with technology now, Kenya can actually jump up the value chain faster and start to deliver more high-value services versus starting at a lower base. And that's what we find very exciting. As what I say is we're a 30-year overnight success. We operate in 25 countries, but our biggest footprint and expansion to date is actually in the Philippines, in Kenya. We're establishing a new site which will have at least about 2,500 new staff in Kenya. So we're very excited about this location. Thank you.
That's fantastic. I do want to come back to you in a second on some details on moving up that value chain. I think that's it's going to be a key theme today. Shemal, could you please just talk a little bit about, particularly from the World Bank perspective, but the sort of the broader way one should think about policy making and how that influences the environment to which all the people on this panel, how they deliver, how they grow. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Thank you very much. Well, first, we've been here for 60 years. We've invested billions of dollars in the Kenyan economy in the last 6 decades. I personally, I also took a few years off from the World Bank about 15, 20 years ago, worked as a senior executive in the private sector. What do investors look for in a country? Clearly, they look for political and economic stability, policy stability. They look for market size. And they look for quality inputs like labor, low cost. And they look for good infrastructure. I think the short video you've just shown has done a wonderful job in really highlighting these strengths. Mind you, Kenya is the largest economy in East Africa, with a GDP of about $125 billion in 2024, and it's likely to get to be above $130 billion in 2025. That's a very sizable market. But on top of that, Kenya It's the gateway to East Africa, a market of over 300 million people. And on top of that, Kenya has multiple trade agreements with Asia, with Europe, with the North America. And that means that investors in Kenya will also have preferential entries to all of those markets. So it's not just the Kenyan market, and it's not just the East Africa market, it's not just the Africa market, it's actually the global market. I think that's, for me, as an investor, I think this is very, very important. Second, a number of you mentioned the quality of your people. It's the Kenyan people. Kenya ranks the highest on the World Bank's Human Capital Index. You have a fantastic education system. And that population has, it's not just people who can do jobs. They also have this tremendous entrepreneurial spirit. If you look at Kenya's mobile phones, payment services, M-Pesa, it's everywhere. And Kenya is a front runner in that area. I think for investors, that the advances you've had in mobile payment actually lays the foundation for significant growth in the kind of areas you're working in agriculture, in financial services, and in many other sectors. So I think these are really the kind, it's a combination of these, the depth, the breadth of the market, the quality of the people, and the entrepreneurial spirit. And I also wanted to add, I think Kenya's infrastructure has made important strides in the last decade. We have seen significant improvements in transport. The video shows that over 93% of Kenyan energy is renewable. That is a huge advantage for manufacturers who wanted to do sustainable and green manufacturing. So this is a place that has enormous potential for investment. And we, at the World Bank, we're putting our money where our mouth is. Our current portfolio, the active investment portfolio in Kenya at the moment is about $7 billion. And our private sector arm, IFC, has invested in its active portfolio of about $1.3 billion. And our guarantee agency, MIGA, is providing hundreds of millions guarantees to investors. So please, this is the place to come if you wanted to help the country to develop and if you want to make money.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad that you added the last bit about if you want to make money, because frankly, that is where capital goes. Jane, I want to come back to you on just this theme of, moving up the value chain. And I'm thinking about it for you at EABL and perhaps as you see the wider sort of manufacturing sector in Kenya, where do you see the best opportunities for value addition for the country's environment to sort of move up that value chain, even within your business, but perhaps also other sectors?
Yes, so thank you. So what we've learned over the years is that to create transformation or industrialize, you have to be anchored in local value chains. That means you have a very integrated business from source to consumption. And if you look at Kenya, we have so much potential of those value chains. Ours is agriculture. We use barley and sorghum, and it's totally integrated from the farmer to the consumers. So if you think about the source, you can do this across the whole of agriculture ecosystem, and we have a lot of agriculture. You can do it in mining, you can do it in every other sector across the country. And then that's one. So make it anchored in the local ecosystem and totally integrated. The other one is we have a growing population, and I think my friends talked about it. So every business person coming to Kenya wants to make money. So this market, there's huge margins, there's huge consumer base. We're a growing population with a great youth dividend. And to an external person, there is potential for marketing your products. Right. So there is also local market. The third one is that we belong to all these other agreements. So you can produce here and you have external market within COMESA, within East Africa, and beyond. AGOA and all those other great nations who are buying from us. And then I think we talked about talent. So I think it all comes together. What must underline that is how do we work with governments to ensure that the policies, the regulatory frameworks are supportive of the end game. That is to make Kenya competitive, to, even from an education perspective, do we have the right skills? Yes, we have great talent and we are skilled, but are we keeping up into the future? Digitization. In our business, we are digitized from end to end, and we are looking for talent in digitized who are great young minds who are digitally led in thought and in everything that they do. And we do need to keep churning those kind of that talent out from our marketplaces. So I think those would be like the 4, 5, talent, regulatory policies, governance frameworks in country, market access. Is there local value chains that are from here to Timbuktu? Right. We have very, very many. I think those would be the ones. And then I think together then we can really make Kenya great in terms of an investment destination. I mean, our investment was the first one. I think it's the biggest from an M&A acquisition in recent times from the Japanese. Mostly it's been from Europe and from the US. So something is changing globally, and we do need to ride that tide by doing the right things.
How integrated does that need to be, those value chains with other African countries or neighbors, even in East Africa, given the nature of your business?
I think the way we are moving forward in Africa, we are becoming more integrated than we've ever been. So something coming from Uganda or in COMESA from Mozambique and being manufactured in Kenya and going back to Congo, I think that's the way we should be doing these things, because we are bigger together.
Yes.
And the market, the source, then becomes very competitive. So as an industrialist, you don't have to import things from very, very far. It is within your local vicinity. What I mean local, like not so far away.
In the regions,
Otherwise you get caught up with straits and stuff like that,
right.
like what we are seeing today.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much for that, Jane. Olivia, can I just ask you just about the export environment right now? You know, there's a lot going on in the world, and there are sort of various challenges around tariffs and what have you. What is the environment for you right now? What advantage do Kenyan exporters have at this time?
So we bring in a couple $1 million a week in exports into the Kenyan economy. So everything we make and grow here by Kenyans is exported. And I think of us as competing against 4 to 5 other big horticulture countries. So whenever I'm talking to the Kenyan government, I've got a bullseye thinking about how Kenya is doing versus, say, Ecuador, Colombia, the Netherlands, and local markets in UK and Europe. And for me, the formula really is the way for Kenya to make money and us to make money is, one, to differentiate on resilience. That means 2 things, if I have to simplify it down. One is really around the supply chain. Whenever I meet with CS Lee, it's all about freight, air freight, sea freight, the resilience and reliability of the chain getting out of Kenya. And 2 is really around human capital, around resilience. We get so many shocks. I mean, all of us in the room think about the environment in which we're operating, whether it's geopolitical shocks around us or climate shock. And we need our people to be always risk assessing, always coming up with plans B and C and planning ahead for those plans. And there is no group of people more resilient than the Kenyans. I think this is one of our superpower. Whatever comes at us, we come up with another way. The second part of the formula is value for money. And so obviously we are competing against Ethiopia, on value for money. We're competing against Colombia. And one of the big things we've been driving is, which you're probably way ahead of us on, is lean manufacturing and lean techniques. And so we have this amazing training and capability program with your local universities in Nairobi, where we're systematically every month sending our people to operational excellence and Kaizen training, which helps us continually remove waste and excess cost out of our system, which is working. And that's what's enabled us to moving up the value chain on manufacturing. And then the third formula is really environmental footprint, which you said. You guys are in a brilliant position in Kenya on environmental footprint. Now, the interest in our markets on carbon, for example, ebbs and waves with the degree of severity of geopolitical shocks. We know that this is coming, and Kenya has such a great case to play. So again, it's about resilience, it's about value for money, and it's about environmental footprint. And that's what's making us ever more competitive against other growing regions like Colombia, the Netherlands, and Ethiopia.
And are you, do you, for your business as well, I asked the same question I asked Jane, which is, how are you seeing any opportunities to integrate on the continent in terms of, for the future of your business? Maybe not today.
So we're equally large in Ethiopia. So we don't sell into, for example,
right.
And we don't, so for Kenya, we don't source from other countries either. So we have a very big operation in Ethiopia as well. So they're they run separate, but they share ideas.
Okay. Excellent.
And actually, they raise the bar for each other. So there's a healthy dose of competition, which I think is really good. So that's what's fueling a lot of the innovation we're seeing.
Okay. Excellent. And I wanted to come back to you, James, on that point about how does a business like yours move up the value chain, or what value addition you have for clients as you grow, and how does that help the sort of the Kenyan creating job creation? How does this work?
Well, thank you. Let me just frame the industry first. We're talking about an industry that's over $500 billion a year in global business services. This industry, you could say, is about half captive, which is shared services, corporations doing it for themselves and then sending it to various parties, and then the other half is made up by third parties, providers. We happen to do both. This business over 30 years has gone from labor arbitrage to how big can we get with scale, to now capability. And this is why I'm very, very excited about Kenya, because it happens to be at the crossroads of where technology and capability can now balance. Yes, we all need to bring more jobs for Kenya, but it's also about the value per job. We need to push that value per job higher. Yes, we need to continue to grow the base, but that value per job can be turbocharged with the technology capability of training new staff up at literally, I've seen 80–90% faster than they've done in historic terms by leveraging technology. So why us and Kenya? We operate in 25 countries, so we basically have 25 choices. Kenya happens to be at the cusp of what we believe is the opportunity of people reviewing their sites around the world, and resiliency. Sorry, you stole my theme. Resiliency. We're living in a time that adaptability, resiliency, durability, we're in a time where that value proposition wasn't priced properly in the past. And all of a sudden, we're in this process of repricing business models, because guess what? Where you get your power matters. Kenya is, as you highlighted, is outstandingly positioned, not just for sustainability, but it's the resiliency factor. And any businessman or businesswoman or shareholder is going to be looking at, how do you build a long-term partnership? That resiliency Kenya has built absolutely provides that framework, that base that people want to build their house on. And I will tell you that we started a little early. We started this vision 13 years ago. I would like to say we were probably a little early, but it's better to be early, and we have seen the growth, and the clients are now starting to see the growth. And sharing that, it's not just the African continent. is expanding, but Kenya is really the diamond that is shining, and we all need to, thank you. I think we all need to carry that flag. And just a little bit of history. 30 years ago, the Philippines was doing about $200 million a year. 30 years later, they're doing about $34 billion in turnover in business processes. So the game afoot is to be had. And unfortunately, while we started there, they're entering a energy crisis because of the current situation. So one person's crisis is another person's opportunity. And we need to really be looking at how to position Kenya as that safe haven for how do we either start off as a second site and then establish that center for other corporations to put their shared services here. One last point I would like to make is developing second city strategy, being able to take not just what we do here in Nairobi, but intentionally have the government push this second city site out so that we can effectively not just bring impactful jobs, but bring this digital value proposition to the far reaches of the country. And because of the digital backbone, the M-Pesa that's mentioned, the platform is here. We just need to maybe connect on where the business side is going, the industry, and government. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point about second cities. I mean, a real issue across many African countries. And Shimao, let me also just tack on to that. And what do you think are those, if you like, the priorities this government should have, or any Kenyan government at that, should have in terms of improving the business climate, right? Because we often have these rankings. Lots of people put a lot of value in the World Bank's rankings, but what's the reality on the ground is, rankings are nice, but what are the things that really when you look at the environment, what do you think they should be prioritized?
First, let me say first, I think Kenya actually has a quite decent and quite comprehensive policy and legal framework for business. In fact, you have lots and lots of lawyers. What do investors hate? They hate inconsistency. They hate uncertainty. For me, I think in terms of what governments can do better, including the Kenyan government can do better, is to consistently implement those policies. So that's number one. I think it's a consistency of implementation, which is absolutely critical. You can have wonderful policies and good regulatory framework, but if you don't implement them, it's not going to be very helpful. Or if you implement them arbitrarily, it's going to be extremely harmful. So I think that's really number one. Second, perhaps, is really thinking about the type of policies that can help you to actually reduce the cost of doing business. The inputs we talked about, right? I talked about Kenya's advantage in renewable energy. But the cost of your energy is actually relatively high compared with other countries. So I think having policies in place that can help to reduce the cost of energy, having policies in place that can help you to reduce the cost of transport, the logistics side, and policy can help you to promote competition. Now, as an individual business, many of us, we don't like competition, we all want it to be monopolies, but as an economy, we actually want it to have a competitive environment so that it can continuously drive costs down. So I think it's that type of policies that's going to be really important. We talked about the many advantages Kenya has, but competition is not just with yourself. Competition is with other countries. Other countries are also constantly improving their business environment, constantly reducing their cost. So I think that what that also means is that you need to continuously reform your systems, making sure you are always at the forefront in terms of policies so that your businesses, your investors can get the lowest cost for energy, the lowest cost for transport. At the same time, they're quality and reliable, right? And they can get skilled labor force also at relatively low cost.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm not sure how we're doing for time because I have. Should wrap it up? Okay, I've got the universal wrap it up sign. This has been an excellent conversation, and I have not just enjoyed learning from you, but I just wanted the top themes, the words I heard most often. Number one was resilience, really the resilience of Kenya in terms of creating an environment in which businesses and investors and capital can come to and grow and generate profits. I really like this theme about consistency of policy, not just in having great ideas, but also consistently implementing them. So one person doesn't get one deal and another person gets another deal. You know, the level playing field is just incredibly important for investors. And third, and I think was the most important, was the Kenyan people. You know, everyone on this panel talked about this. It's key to how this country develops and grows. And, you know, frankly, it's key to the way all African countries will grow. But it's important while we're in Kenya, we you know, sort of pay homage to that, because I don't think we do that enough about our respective countries. And I think that it's a really important point. But please join me in thanking this excellent panel. Thank you for your time.
All right, another warm round of applause to the panel. Fantastic. Your Excellencies, with your permission at this point, allow me to now invite the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, Honorable Lee Kinyanjui, to make some brief remarks. And as he does that, he'll also take that opportunity to recognize our sponsors. A warm clap for Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Lee Kinyanjui. Karibu.
Thank you. Your Excellency, President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, our chief guest today, His Excellency Daniel Francisco Chapo, the President of the Republic of Mozambique, our Prime Cabinet Secretary, ambassadors and high commissioners here present, distinguished investors from around the world, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My responsibility, part of what I really would have wanted to say, has actually been said by the panel that was here, and it was said in a very powerful way. So I request you to join me in thanking them for that testimony. And I think the best testimony is one that comes from the business people and not the government. So I really want to thank them for the journey that we've walked together. Your Excellency, I take this opportunity to welcome all our delegates here in Kenya and also to the Kenya International Investment Conference, this being the fourth one since we started holding these investment conferences. We are delighted to welcome our delegates and participants to the great city of Nairobi. For those visiting for the first time, enjoy our cool weather and take time to explore the many attractions that define Nairobi. This is probably the closest we get to winter, so around the year you can have your stay in Nairobi like this, so really we welcome you. Situated on the equator, Kenya enjoys temperate weather all the year round, making it suitable for agribusiness, green energy, and tourism. In literally every sector of the economy, opportunities abound waiting to be explored. From manufacturing to agribusiness and digital economy, the country is a cocktail of opportunities awaiting investors such as yourselves. We look forward for partners who can be able to work with us, and at this time allow me to say that for the last 3 years we have agreed that we want to operate outside the box. And that means whenever there is a problem and you need a solution, we don't want to be defined by tradition. So for investors who are here, whenever there is a problem and you have a solution, the government is waiting to listen to you. And therefore, to say we have discarded the box, and all you want is, where do we meet? You need your investment return, you need stability, we want our young people employed, and you want our forex in the country. That's our meeting point, that's the equilibrium, and we'll be able to create a solution necessary for you. Under the wise and visionary leadership of the President, we have embraced adaptation and innovation. And therefore, meaning with every changing situation, we sit with the business community to align on the challenges that are there, and even when our laws are an impediment, we have what we call business amendment laws, such as what we passed last year, and even this year will be aligning. I want to take this opportunity also to thank the investors who are already in Kenya, because there are many who want to come, but many others who are already here. Some of them have also sponsored this event, including KCB, our biggest bank, led by Paul Russo. Thank you. It's our biggest bank, but also within the region in East Africa, and I'm also hoping we'll go beyond East Africa, is our leading bank. So again, when it comes to financial solutions, together with M-Pesa and all the others that are there, we are all set. We also have Arise, which have also partly sponsored this event, and we also want to thank you for your participation and sponsorship. Your Excellency, allow me also at this time to say that we have also come with our cabinet secretaries and also our principal secretaries, because the real business conversation will happen after the formal opening. So we will have very serious conversations around ICT. And to that effect, we have the Minister for ICT, William Kabogo, who will also be leading the session in the breakaway. Mining, which is also our big sleeping giant, and where we also have a lot of hope, and I'm glad that a good number of the investors who've come here want to know what you're doing in the mining sector. We have our Minister, Ali Hassan Joho, will also be leading that session. You have also heard that we have a very vibrant young population, and your typical taxi driver or will speak good English, is most likely a post-secondary school education, and the guy leading that section is our Minister for Public Service, Cabinet Secretary Ruku, who will also be here to explore some of those issues. So with those few comments, Your Excellency, I also want to take this opportunity to welcome, just for 1 minute, Paul Russo, to say just one word before we can be able to go to the next session. Welcome, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you. Your Excellency, I will stand on all protocols already established. 3 things, Your Excellency. And the first one might come out as cheeky, but I think, Your Excellency, you'll forgive me. We've seen the transformation from Kenya Investment Authority to invest in Kenya as public sector. It's not just that video. Your Excellency, I know you are the front person on investment in Kenya, but I think Invest in Kenya team with the ministry has done an amazing job. I can confirm, Your Excellency, that we actually, it used to be one-stop shop, but we are seeing one shop. And why do I say one-stop shop? We just used to end there, but we can see deals as bankers, and we are converting deals, Your Excellency. So thank you so much for the transformation that has happened in that unit. Secondly, Your Excellency, I don't need to talk about KCB 130 years in this country. At the core of every development, we are catalysts. And Your Excellency, recently with Exim, we signed the financing for Vipingo. You had one of the panelists talking about the second city. Vipingo is actually reality to getting the second city conversations, Your Excellency. So $300 million with Afri-Exim to ensure that Arise project kicks off. Finally, Your Excellency, from a banking perspective, we've seen interest rates coming down, but we've also seen that we are taking a bet on this country, and it's paying back, Your Excellency. So I'm one of those people from a financial institution that will say, when you invest in Kenya, it pays. But I'm also challenging private sector and government entities to find ways to work together to accelerate that transformation. I submit, Your Excellency. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, allow me to invite the last speaker, who is also our sponsor for Rise Africa, Nicole Gandhi. Kindly, just for a word. Thank you. Welcome.
Your Excellency, kindly allow me to begin with the already established protocols. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I stand here on behalf of the Arise Group, which is a Pan-African developer of special economic zones, logistics parks, and ports across the African continent. Over the last 15 years, we've been able to develop these projects across 18 locations in 18 countries in Africa. But I want to specifically mention that our investment in Kenya is going to be by far the largest investment that we have done so far in the history of our company. So thank you very much, Your Excellency, for the opportunity. We are developing 3 special economic zones to begin with, and 4,500 acres of industrial land that is going to be provided for enabling manufacturing and developing the logistics and trade framework within the East African continent. And we stand proud that over the next 3 years, we will be investing as a company over $3 billion in Kenya, only to enable the growth for the economic value that we are going to unlock as a business. What I see today is a theme of resilience. And I come here from Dubai in UAE, which is probably facing one of its most challenging situations. But it is the resilience and the resolve to provide a safe, secure, stable solution that is keeping investors still stay put in that country. So I would certainly provide the same resilience for all of us to come together to overcome the challenges that we have. And today in the panel, people spoke about what investors are looking for. So beyond economic stability and beyond the political or the geo advantage of what Kenya offers, Your Excellency, and with your permission, I would like to address to all the government officials in the room. Capital is looking for stable, and especially for manufacturing companies, they are looking for enablers in the form of power tariffs. They are looking for enablers in the form of corporate structures in terms of taxation. They are looking for policy framework that enables the unlockment of key sectors and also import subsidies where there is unlocking of great potential to develop over 100,000 and millions of jobs. We, as an endeavor with Arise, are looking to create over 500,000 jobs in the next 5 years. And with Your Excellency's leadership and guidance, we hope that coming together in partnership with Ken Invest and with many other companies here, we will be able to achieve what we are set out for. Once again, thank you very much for patiently listening. And Your Excellency, thank you very much for your leadership. And Ken Invest, thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, allow me in closing to recognize that, as you have heard, we are trying to create a one-stop shop. But that one-stop shop is mobile today. So we've come here with literally the whole government. We have the PS for diaspora, Rosalind Jogu, and I'm saying this because after this session, these are some of the people who may be critical in whatever decisions you want to make. So Rosalind, kindly, she's here. We also have Harry Kimtai for mining, PS Abubakar Hassan for investment, Juma Mkwana for industry, and PS Abdirazak for research. We also have energy, Alex Washira, and we also have Muthoni for health, and Betsy Jagi. So I think the whole government is not just a one-stop, it's also a mobile one-stop, and we are here today. So I want to thank you all. And lastly also, we have governors, because our country also have 47 counties. And this is where the last mile is in connection to investment. And I want to salute the county governor of Embu here, Cecily Mbarire, thank you. So for investors interested in that area, kindly you're welcome. And also from Uasin Gishu, B. Jonathan. So thank you very much. So we are hosting this together with the county governments, and also we invite you to have that interaction. With those few comments, it is now my great honor and pleasure to invite our Prime Cabinet Secretary, His Excellency Musalia Mudavadi. Kindly let's welcome him with a clap. Thank you.
Your Excellency Dr. William Samoei, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency Daniel Francisco Chapo, President of the Republic of Mozambique, Ambassador Maria Manuela dos Santos Lucas, Minister for Foreign Affairs and Cooperation of the Republic of Mozambique, Cabinet Secretaries, Secretary General of COMESA, Madame Kapwepwe, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor to address you at the 4th edition of the Kenya International Investment Conference, KICO 2026, a forum that continues to position Kenya as a premier investment hub. In line with the theme of the conference, unlocking investment opportunities to drive Kenya's transformation, our missions across the globe continue to showcase Kenya's attractiveness as the preferred investment destination. We invite investors and business community to engage our missions abroad to access timely and comprehensive investment information. And Your Excellency, we are riding on this conference. We have a follow-up event of you addressing and interacting with our ambassadors across the world. And we are riding on this event, so they are also in here, Kenyan ambassadors who have joined from their stations. Wherever you are, you can just wave. Thank you. This is a very strong showing. Your Excellency, we are gathered at a particularly profound moment in global affairs when the Middle East crisis continues to adversely impact global and regional economic outlook as logistics disruptions and expected global oil shortages become a reality. This calls for proactive strategies such as today's conference, as well as accelerated intra-Africa partnership, including African Continental Free Trade Area, so as to ease stress from external and domestic shocks. In this regard, as a member of the East African Community and standing among the first countries to ratify the African Continental Free Trade Agreement in May 2018, Kenya continues to champion deeper regional economic and investment cooperation. And Mr. President, nobody needs to remind us that you are the champion on behalf of the continent for the African Continental Free Trade Area promotion. Notably, the strategic, innovative, and investment solutions will contribute to inclusive growth and social prosperity for our people, enabling us to realize the government's bottom-up economic transformation agenda priorities. Finally, I commend the conference organizers for creating a platform for all stakeholders, partners, and participants to deliberate on how to stimulate investments in Kenya, thus highlighting our country's contribution to regional and Africa's shared prosperity. It is now my distinct honor to invite His Excellency, the President, to deliver his address. Ladies and gentlemen, can we be upstanding for the President of the Republic of Kenya?
Thank you very much. Please take your seats. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, my brother Daniel Francisco Chapo, the President of Mozambique, let me, on behalf of the people and government of Kenya, welcome you to Kenya, and in a very special way, thank you for honoring my invitation for you to participate in this very important investment forum. Distinguished investors, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to the home of human origins and, and the origin of wonder. Wherever you come from anywhere in the world, you do not visit Kenya. You simply come home. So welcome home, karibuni nyumbani. We have gathered here this morning for the 4th edition of the Kenya International Investment Conference 2026, a platform designed not only to unlock and drive Kenya's transformation, but also to advance the progress of our region and the broader African continent. We meet at a moment of great consequence, defined by profound disruptions and growing uncertainty, from shifting geopolitical alignments to economic volatility and latest developments in the Middle East. The global landscape is becoming ever more complex and unpredictable. As we navigate these evolving contexts, our collective responsibility is to ensure that our economies remain resilient, adaptable, and capable of withstanding global shocks. That is precisely what we have worked to achieve in Kenya over the past 3 years. At a time of global uncertainty, Kenya offers something increasingly rare: stability, predictability, openness, and world-class opportunities underpinned by both macro and microeconomic fundamentals. Despite global headwinds, foreign direct investment inflows in 2025 grew by over 15%, exceeding for the first time the US dollars $2 billion mark. Kenya was also recently upgraded by the Standard & Poor's from B- to B, a clear signal of strengthening macroeconomic fundamentals and growing investor confidence. Inflation has averaged 4.4% over an extended period, having come down from 9.6% 3 years ago. Exchange rate has remained stable at 129 shillings to a dollar over the past 2 years. Meanwhile, our foreign exchange reserves stand at a historic high of US dollars 14.6 billion, representing nearly 7 months of import cover. At the same time, our capital markets continue to exhibit strong performance, with Nairobi Securities Exchange ranking among the best performing stock markets in Africa. In 2025, for example, it emerged as the second best on the continent, delivering a remarkable 52% return in dollar terms. This performance is now driving an ambitious expansion agenda, with the NSE targeting 40 new listings by 2029. Earlier this month, the landmark Kenya Pipeline Company initial public offering raised US dollars 823 million. Our focus remains firmly on strengthening the domestic environment, and we are deepening reforms and executing policies that enhance competitiveness, streamline processes, and create a more enabling and investor-friendly environment. These reforms include zero-rating VAT on exported services, tax reforms that allow corporates to verify tax claims against future liabilities, and the removal of the 30% domestic equity requirement for ICT companies, thereby unlocking significant new investments into Kenya's rapidly expanding digital economy. Through our one-stop investment center, investors now access seamless, world-class facilitation services. By the end of this year, 2026, this platform will be fully digitized, enabling permits and licenses to be secured entirely online, reducing costs and improving efficiency for our investors. Ladies and gentlemen, with a population of about 55 million, Kenya is far more than a domestic market. We are the natural gateway to East and Central Africa, and through the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, a springboard into a US dollar 3.7 trillion continental market of 1.4 billion people. Regionally, Kenya anchors the East African Community Common Market of more than 330 million consumers and the COMESA market of 680 million consumers. And that is why you have the Secretary General of COMESA in this meeting. Just this week, we finalized negotiations with the government of China on a bilateral trade agreement that will open access to an additional market valued at about US dollars 19 trillion, further expanding opportunities for investors. Despite the clear and demonstrable progress registered, we remain committed to continuously improving, guided by the insights and concerns of investors, businesses, and all stakeholders, as was reported by CS for Trade. In direct response to investor feedback, Kenya is implementing a new package of cross-cutting policy actions designed to remove long-standing investment bottlenecks and significantly enhance the ease of doing business. We are strengthening tax administration by introducing VAT refund mechanisms for export-oriented firms and providing greater certainty in transfer pricing frameworks, thereby improving liquidity and predictability for our investors. I remember a very special case with my good sister who spoke from the flower industry here, when she did mention to me when we had an investment conference in London about the challenges they were facing, and that if we did realign with their request, they would enhance their investment in Kenya. And to their credit, when we did what they asked, when we did whatever they asked us to do, the CS Trade was in Naivasha to launch their expansion of almost 2 billion shillings. And so, when my Minister for Trade says we are working with stakeholders, business, investors, as they make suggestions to us, we align with the requirements of the market. We're also improving energy competitiveness through ongoing tariff reforms and expanded power generation, ensuring more predictable and cost-effective electricity for energy-intensive industries.